You know that feeling when you just crave a quiet afternoon, all by yourself, just you and your thoughts, a little peace? But what if that solitude wasn't your choice? What if it was forced on you, endless, and just absolute? Well, that experience flips from being a blessing to a total curse. So today, let's explore why our brains are so fundamentally wired for connection and what actually happens when that connection is completely severed. I mean, it's really a tale of two different worlds, isn't it? On one side, you've got the solitude you choose. It feels rejuvenating, you get creative, it's calm, it's your chance to recharge the batteries. But on the other side, you have forced isolation, and suddenly, that exact same state becomes stressful, terrifying, and yeah, downright torturous. The silence isn't peaceful anymore, it is deafening.
So, this brings us to the big question, right? The physical condition is identical. You are alone. So, why in the world does one path lead to renewal and the other to a complete mental breakdown? Well, it turns out the answer is buried deep inside our own neurology.
To really get this, we need to look at what happens to the brain when it's under siege from forced silence. Because this isn't a passive thing, it's an active assault on our mental stability.
See, our brains are these incredible machines that are constantly processing stuff from the outside world, a conversation, a look from someone else, a reaction. When you take all of that away, the brain doesn't just switch off and go quiet. No, it loses its anchor. It starts to turn inward, and often in a really destructive and chaotic way. And we're not just talking about a feeling of loneliness here. We're talking about a full-on deterioration cascade. It usually starts with these spiraling obsessive thoughts. Then that quickly ramps up into heightened paranoia, where every little shadow or sound feels like a major threat. And finally, the brain gets so starved for input that it just starts creating its own reality, auditory and even visual hallucinations.
So why? Why does this happen? Well, the reason is that we all have this kind of neurological defense mechanism. You can think of it like a shield that protects our sense of reality. And that shield, it's forged entirely out of our connections with other people.
The scientific name for this is social reality testing, and it makes perfect sense when you think about it. How do you know that weird noise you just heard was just the house settling and not something else? Usually you might ask someone, hey, did you hear that? Or you just look around and see that nobody else is freaking out. That feedback from other people is constantly fine-tuning our perception of what's real. It's our sanity check. So, what happens on a neurological level when that social shield is just gone, ripped away? The consequences are not just psychological, they are physical and they are profound. Okay, first off, our emotional brain, the limbic system, it basically goes into overdrive. This is the part of our brain that handles things like fear and anxiety. Without any social feedback to calm it down, to say, hey, everything's cool, it just keeps firing off alarm bells. It creates this constant state of high alert and emotional chaos. And this might be the most shocking part. While your emotional brain is running wild, the rational part of your brain, your prefrontal cortex, the part responsible for logic and reasoning, it actually starts to lose mass. It physically shrinks from the lack of stimulation and the constant stress. Your ability to think clearly is literally, physically eroding away. Now, this isn't just some interesting neuroscience fact. It has massive real-world implications. Let's just take a look at how one country has used this very science to completely redesign its justice system. In Norway, their whole correctional system is built on this very principle. Their philosophy isn't about isolation and punishment. Instead of taking away that social reality shield, they focus on strengthening it. Their goal is to use human connection to rehabilitate people into becoming, as they put it, better neighbors. And the results? They are staggering. Norway has one of the lowest recidivism rates on the planet, just 20%. Now compare that to rates of over 60% in systems that rely heavily on isolation. That 20%, that is neuroscience in action. It's the direct result of providing the social connection the brain desperately needs to reality test, to regulate, and to heal. So the crucial point here is this. Connection isn't a nice to have, it's a neurological necessity. Understanding that our brains depend on this social reality testing to stay healthy, well, it isn't just about preventing harm. It's actually a blueprint for actively building better, safer societies through rehabilitation and simple human contact.
And this really leaves us with a pretty big question, doesn't it? If social connection is as fundamental to our health as food or water, are we really building a world that meets that need? It's something to think about the next time you're designing a school project, planning a city, or even just checking in on a friend.